Okay, I'm back, and I had to use my iPad now because my iPhone died, but I've got the paint reconstituted. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with this color, this tone. Even though it's a nice muted tone, I don't feel like it's going to be the final color. So I'm trying to think about mixing something and going on top of it a little bit. So that's what I've tried. It's not like watercolor. You can't put a wash on top. You have to just pick a different color. And we'll wait a minute and see how dark this dries, but I think that it's going to be too dark. So I'm going to put quite a lot of white in there. The lights dry darker, the darks dry lighter than you think. So you kind of just have to go back and forth, but see how fast that dries. I can just put this on top. So let's see. I'm going to go right here with this. And I don't think it's going to make it any lighter, but I think it's going to be a prettier color. So I just kind of wish I had used this in the first place. But that's the nice thing about gouache. I can go back and forth and back and forth forever, and it'll be there waiting for me. I can mess with it as much as I want. You can't do that with watercolor. You can do that with oil. So I'm going to try to make sure I don't touch the same place twice. I can dab that because I missed it. If I touch the same place twice, I'm going to lift it. So I've already run out of color. I guess it's just a good idea to mix a lot of color. I'm going to go on and just add a little more life to this color, to his flesh. And you know, as far as strokes, if these strokes show, they're kind of blocky. We're trying to make art. We're not trying to make a photograph. So it's okay if it's blocky, if it builds up. I'm going to add a little bit of water and just pray it's not too much. I'm going to dab it on my napkin, and it looks like it's receiving it okay. So I just think that's a better color. Yeah, he looks alive now. Now that would be a really nice color in the shadows, but I think that just had a little too much blue in it. And we want him to look alive. So down here, I believe I must have had a water drop or something, because that's wasn't there before. And this is not a water drop. This is his windpipe, Adam's apple. And there we go. I'm much happier with that result. We'll see if it dries okay, but part of it's already dried, so I think we're fine. Okay, so if there's a little bit of that other color left over, that's fine too. It's just all gonna be fine. All right, so now I'm going to go in and mix this color, which is, if you can see on the camera, that's what I'm talking about, as it's sort of a mustard color. So I'm going to mix that color. I guess if you want to see me mix that color, I will. So the mustard color, it's kind of a greenish brown. So I've got kind of a yellow green here. Opposite of yellow is purple. So I could make like a purple that's red and blue. And I could mix this mustard color into it. So I just want kind of a green brown. I think that's pretty close. Now I can take my handy dandy grayscale, which would be helpful to some, and I can see that it's a value 4. And if I put a little mark on there and I squint, that looks like it's going to dry a bit darker. It didn't disappear. So that's a good idea, that I should add a little bit of white to this. Add a little bit of white, and obviously if that's not enough, we can always paint over it. But it's kind of hard to go backwards. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to paint this tannish shape. So I'm going to squint my eyes and try to go right next to the shape that I'm seeing. This is, his hair is casting a shadow. There's a definite shadow there. So I'm hoping this is going to be dark enough. I think it is. Like I say, it kind of seems to dry a little bit darker. So there we go. I just want this to really butt up against that black though, because that's what it's doing in the photo. And there's just a little trace of it there. Hope we can see that. Yeah. I guess my filming is in the way, so I'll move it over. So I'm right here. I'm going to go along the ear, and that's just a flat line. There we go. Yeah, I'm very happy with this color. I'm going to add a little bit of water to it, dab my brush onto a paper towel so I don't water it down. Pull back a little so I can see my reference. And see how this shape is right next to that shape. This is really pretty thick, so I may get away with pulling it down a little bit. And I don't think I'm pulling anything up. I think on the other side of this black, oh, I am pulling a little bit up. But that's okay, I'm just gonna not touch it, not freak out. Good thing is just to get in and get out with this medium. Okay, so I'm doing this color. I see that it comes over here. I see that it goes down right next to the Adam's apple. Kind of stands out on this young man's face. That's who he is. Now that's kind of a real circle, so I'm just going to give it a little lima bean shape. Now I don't care about the black because I'm going to go on top of that. Okay, so that's that. Come down here, there's a little bit here, there's one right in there. This is pretty sharp. And if I ever need to check it, I've got that drawing that's on tracing paper. I can put it right on top and see if my shapes are where I want it to be or my features are where I want it to be. There's nothing lost. So this is right around his mouth pretty prominently. I'm going to use the edge of a brush so I get this shape nice. And, oh, I can just go right over, can't I? Well, I go right next to. This isn't quite the right shape. The red black here, you see how it's a little bit bigger here? But I think it'll be fine. So go right over the shape. Okay, do you see how, I think since I've already done this black, I'm going to just go right on top of it. It might pick up some, so I won't stay there long. And go off the page. There's a little dividing line here. I'm going to try and save that light because I mixed that color and I like that color and I don't want to lose it. Okay. And so now there's also a little bit of a shadow under his mouth. Let's see if that's going to show up. Ooh, looks like I need to go thicker. Okay. For that to show up, it's going to go like this, and we've lost our black, but that's okay. We'll come back and get it. Okay. Now there's an interesting thing happening here under the nose. This is that part of the nose. There's a kind of a reflecting light on here, so I'm going to turn a little bit. Try to get it correct. One of the reasons I'm doing this is this young man is going to be doing his first, and I'm speaking to Braden too. Braden, you're going to be doing your first gouache, and some people have decided not to do gouache, so I wanted you to see what it would look like. Now I'm doing this line above the eye, going around the black. There's a little drop shadow. Here's the color of your eye. I know it's not this color, but we're not really caring about color, are we? No, we're not. This is just one more tone. Okay, now we're gonna do this actually connects to the eyebrow, so I'm gonna not disturb what's already there. Go around the eyebrow a little bit more. This whole thing is much darker, but you see there's a light there, so I don't want to lose that light. It's our undertone, underpainting. But then it does go up and meet the black. Okay, so that's kind of that tone. Don't believe we dealt with the ear, have we? Have a little bit more water. Dab my brush on the paper towel, always. Now, I just went over that, so I think it's okay for me to go over it again. It's not dry yet. Kind of along the edge of the ear. Now, this inside of the ear, I think I need to squint so I can really see those shapes. It's pretty dark in there because it's not hitting the light. Okay, now, of all these things, I'm very happy. I probably want to get rid of that dark right there. The lips, this looks a little kind of messy. So I'm going to see if I can just put some strokes on top and see what happens. See if that evens it out a bit. And I can always go back and paint my darks again, of course, since we've kind of lost them. Okay, that upper lip is good. The cast shadow on the nose is good. This is kind of a difficult pose because he's looking up, but no problem. If we get the shapes right, it's all going to read. So, looks like the only thing I've messed up is I don't have a light there, I don't have a light there. So before we went in and we erased it, so we can do that again. Let's put some water on it. Use this to our advantage instead of making it a negative, which some people think it is. You're going to pull that out a bit, dab it. So you could do a whole painting bringing out these negative spaces. I'm going to do that right there. This is this light right here. I might be out of order just a little bit, but who cares? There's a little tiny collection there. So it's kind of beginning to look like a paint by number, and that's just a-okay. If I want to shape any of these things a little bit, like that probably goes in just a touch there, no problem. That lip is kind of a more attractive shape, the way it goes around there. So I'm going to go in there and just make that look a little more attractive. I know this is probably just not important right now, but it kind of bothers me for his likeness. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave this and move on to the dark. I'm going to pause so the video's not so long.